Hi, my name is Peter van der Gugten. I'm from Switzerland, and I am the author and also the publisher of this video. We were starting in May 2018 for the Continental Divide Trail from Mexico to Canada with our 4 horses. There are 3 BLM Mustangs and 1 Criollo from Argentina, and 2 of my friends, Mark from Scotland and Jolt from Hungary, who were riding with me in Europe and other countries before. We started at Antelope Wells at the Mexican border and rode all the way through New Mexico up to Twin Lakes near Leadville. There we went up to the Canadian border and rode down from the Canadian border to Helena. In the first part through New Mexico, we were accompanied by 2 German friends who were driving our truck and trailer, supplying us with hay and water as it was needed through the desert of the Mystic Land. You will see a couple of pictures of our 2018 trail ride, and then following you will see the pictures of the trip that we took in 2019. We live in Larkspur, Colorado, and we load up the horses there, driving them up to Twin Lakes near Leadville, Colorado. We pack up the horses and take a shortcut up to the Continental Divide Trail. That's when disaster strikes. The Criollo Ahi, he hits the food bag on a tree, freaks, turns around and takes off. Everything gets scattered, a saddle gets broken, and our stuff is distributed in the woods. We gather them while I try to catch up on the 2 horses that are gone. Later a neighbor helps us gathering our stuff. Salome will camp at Twin Lakes, hoping that the two horses will return. When I come back next morning, they are still gone. An hour later, we find them on a property next to where we started the day before. Happy nothing happened, we load them up and trailer them back home, where we start to fix our gear. Four days later, we are ready again. This time my daughter Karin is joining us. We drive up to the trailhead of the CDT and start riding in the afternoon. We only do about 10 miles when a thunderstorm is bringing in hail and rain. We fence the horses and we cook some freeze-dried food. Salome is riding with us. She is Swiss and a professional musician. Karin and her are good riders, but have no experience in trail riding. We are heading towards Emerald Lakes. There we will meet the family for the night. So we teach the two Rockies as we go. We have 4 horses with us. 3 are Mustangs from the BLM. 1 from California, 1 from Kentucky, and 1 from Sandwash Basin in Colorado. The 4th one is a Criollo from Argentina, and he is a famous movie star, but that's a different story. It drizzles in the morning as we get up around 6 a.m. After breakfast, we take down the fencing and pack up our tarp. It takes about 90 minutes to get everything packed up and the horses ready. To get the horses used to the trail, we start slow, doing about 10 to 15 miles a day. Later on, we will increase that to up to 30 miles. We walk 10 minutes every hour, and we walk all trails going down or steep up the mountain. Also, we take a break every 2 hours for the horses to graze some. We're following the ridge and are heading towards Copper Mountain. We have to cross the highway, so we decide to camp at a nice spot about 5 miles before Copper Mountain. We are heading towards Copper Mountain and walking down a long winding bike trail. The trail is blocked due to construction right before town, and we have to take the horses into the little village. We take the chance and get some coffee and buy some fresh fruit. We have to ride the tar road out of town and cross the highway again to get to the CDT trail on the other side. There we find the trail blocked by a spring avalanche that has not been cleared up yet. Fighting through the woods that are partially cut. We find the trail up onto the ridge and we follow it. We can see down to Breckenridge and Frisco from here. We see some elk and talk to some hunters on the way that advise us where we could find some grass for the horses. Towards 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we find a meadow that is dry and we can fence in the horses and break camp. We have camped near a clear-cutting area, and in the morning as I wake up, I hear the machines being started. Later, I hear them moving towards us. It is still dark as I wake up the two ladies and tell them to hurry up. As the harvester is getting closer, they start to scramble. We never broke camp so fast. We follow the trail through the clear cuts and come down to the interstate that we have to cross. We follow the road for a bit and then decide to ride into the housing area. In there, we find a friendly neighbor who calls us and invites us for a cup of coffee. We gladly accept. Later, we follow the creek up into a mining area. It's going to be Karin's last day. Tonight, we're going to meet her husband and family, and they're going to take her and Ahi back to Larkspur. We ride with a Garmin GPS. The entire trail is stored on it, and it has a topographical map. And this map is showing us that we will be climbing up to above 14,000 feet today. The horses have no problem with the elevation, but for us, it's getting quite heavy to be climbing in front of the horses on the steep trails up and above 13 to 14,000 feet. As we make it up there, the trail takes us along that height for a long time, and we pass the cutoff to Montezuma. Having to go down is easy. On the other side, there's a steep trail going up. Plus, there is absolutely no water up here. In the distance, we see some sheep that are watching us climbing down, and they're probably laughing at these tourists. The trail takes us onto a cliff, and it is getting really dangerous. The horses are tired. It's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and we don't want to risk. Plus, I don't want to return back to Montezuma. So we decide to go down into the valley on the only possible descent. It's the wrong side of the mountain, but we will figure out tomorrow how to get to the other side again. It's been cold last night. We figure out how to get back onto the other side and lead the horses down to the trail that is way at the bottom of the valley below us. We have to do some difficult climbing, but we get the horses down and we follow the trail out towards the road that takes us up Glen Allen Pass. It's a long stretch of tar, but we're happy to be riding again and leading the horses down on the other side. I'm hoping for a trail angel to meet us so we would find a place to stay in Georgetown. As we come down at the last turnoff before the village, a white Jeep stops, and my trail angel is right there. She invites us to a friend's corral for the horses, and we ask to take her out for some pizza and beer tonight. We had a great dinner with Juanella and her friends last night. Meeting a former cowboy, chatting with him about our trip. We meet our friends from last night again, and they are happy to be showing us the way up to the trail so we can continue on the Continental Divide. 1860, Old Town part of Empire. View back to Guanella Pass. Our trail angel carries the same name, and her family has been homesteading here since 1860. We take the trail up to Lake Lamont, and as we follow the off-road, we come to a big campsite with lots of friendly people that invite us for a beer and something to eat. Back up to Loch Lomond. We are looking for the trail. There's a couple of them, and we find the right one that leads us up to the next mountain above 14,000 feet. Right on up, we pass a couple of hikers, and we hit the CDT again about 2/3 of the way up. Following the ridge, the trail gets steeper. We get off and we lead the horses up, and on top of the mountain we meet a group of young people. They point us out where Wyoming starts and where Grants is situated, and they also ask what is the point of bringing the horses up here. We explain, and they understand. Descending the mountain again, we run into more hikers coming up. Some of them are quite exhausted. We know how it feels. Following the trail down, we run into a former railroad track that's been turned into a four-wheel drive road. We follow it, trotting some, even cantering. We're happy to let the horses run. We pass that man's lake and come into a wide valley where autumn colors have changed the way that the meadows look. Going down the valley, we run into a cow moose on the other side. We watch her for a while and then follow the trail down through some burnt areas to be camping down in a meadow at the bottom of the creek. We're in the Indian Peaks Wilderness area, and the trail takes us through woods and meadows where we see some hunters in their orange overcoats and hats, and we have to avoid a couple of times trees that have fallen down on the trail. Actually, we're getting very well ahead, and soon we will see the lake and we'll be reaching Grants. We hope to be able to go shopping there and charge our batteries again. The Colorado River has his spring here, and we follow it quite a while, crossing wooden platforms and riding on a trail that is maneuverable by cars, following the lake. It is warm today, and I'm looking forward to a bath tonight. It'll be the first one for a long time. Salome would like to go swimming right now, but I want to be sure that we will be reaching Grants tomorrow, and therefore I tell her that she will have to wait till the evening. In one of the valleys that we come down into, there is an avalanche again that has pulled down tons of trees, and we have to lead the horses around the entire avalanche. It takes quite a while for us to get to the other side and hitting the trail again, but we find the end of the second lake, and it's only another 10 miles till Grants. So here at the end of the lake, we decide to camp. We take our equipment down from the horses and we fence them up. Now we can take a bath, and it is beautiful warm weather, and we can get rid of the sweat and heat of the past days. Nearby, a couple of hunters have built their camp. You can see their motorboat that they have tied up at the lake. After we eat, we find that they have come back to their camp, and we go and see them. We have a great evening together. Soon we will reach Grants, and we'll go to the Windy River Resort, where we'll get some bikes to go shopping in Grants. They can't believe that we are riding there on horseback and not trailering our horses. We had given the horses a break yesterday, and today we will ride into the Rocky Mountain National Park. Lots of people have told us about all the animals that we can see from there, but unfortunately they all seem to have gotten away from us, so nothing was visible on the entire trail. Since we cannot camp inside the trail, we don't have any certified hay with us. We will be riding the 40 kilometers, the 32 odd miles across the park, and we will camp outside of the park tonight. The trail leads up to a overpass, and at the end will be just 10 kilometers farther north of the Windy River Resort, where we started out from. In the morning we see a couple of deer crossing the road, and we see a moose in the resort. The trail up to the plateau is very well marked, and it has a couple of very interesting overpasses that are easily done with the horses. As we returned to the main road in the middle of the woods, shortly before the park ends, a shot is being fired. All three horses take off, and I have a hard time trying to keep Rodeo at bay. Dietz, who has been riding at the very back, takes a leap forward and drops Salome out of her saddle. Nothing has happened except that we kind of got shocked a little bit. We are camping outside of the park at the edge of a big meadow. We followed the road a bit towards the north and turn off to the left into the Never Summer Wilderness area. In the beginning it is a track for cars, later it is a trail that takes us all the way up to the 1,300 feet overpass without name. The view is excellent from here. On the other side we take the horses down and we enter a big wooded area. For hours we're riding through forest, and in the afternoon we finally reach a big meadow where we set up camp and put up the horses behind their fence. Tomorrow we will be reaching the highway where our family will pick us up again. Salome is getting water while I prepare the evening meal. We eat freeze-dried food, and for Salome I bought the vegetarian version, and for me I always load another handful of beef or chicken meat into the vegetarian dish. The food is not bad, and it's always enough for 2 people. Following the food, we are drinking tea to load up the water that we lost during the day. We followed a trail up the mountain through some areas with great vistas and come into a rather flat surface area. It takes us further up to a ridge that we have to follow for a long time. Autumn has changed the color of the woods, and we finally, after a while, get out of the woods onto the heights. Up here the wind is blowing very strong, and the trail is taking us onto the ridge and follows that ridge for a long time. Finally, the trail takes us down and we hit on a big avalanche. This time there is no way to get around it. We have to cut way clear across it. It takes about an hour to get the horses onto the other side of the valley. We're happy to find a trickle of water. We fill up our water bags and let the horses drink. Later, we come to a trailhead where we meet some hunters and share a meal together. It's very cold this morning as we get up. As we follow the trail towards the north, we are coming up to a ridge again, and with the wind chill up here, it feels like it's 10 below. We keep on riding till about lunchtime, and then we enter into the woods, and we're happy because the wind doesn't blow as hard in the area. We are on the level of Steamboat Springs, and Salome is getting her job done very well. The horses have lost some weight, but they're doing great, and we have no problems neither with saddle nor with cinch. Rodeo has lost the most weight, and this is great because now the saddle is finally staying in place. On the trail, we meet some hunters again, but most of them are without success, and we don't hardly see any trophies being transported out of the woods. It's only about 12 miles to the highway where we will meet my family. The trail into the valley is taking longer and longer, and after we've been able to give some water to the horses, we let them trot for a while. We will be driving to Steamboat Springs today, and we will take a day break there. Tomorrow, we will be driving through the Sandwash Basin up to Landard in Wyoming. We met a new set of friends up in Landard. We spent evening together and had a great time. We followed the Sink Canyon Road without knowing exactly how to get back to the CDT. I can't find a trail on the Garmin map, hoping that we will find a trailhead with some maps that will show us the way. We follow the road, come to a place where the creek sinks into the ground, disappears there, and we have to replace one Duplo of Rodeo. A couple of miles further up the trail, we come to the trailhead, and we have the horses drink some water and eat something before we follow the trail up the mountain. The trail is really rocky up here, and as we reach the creek, we find out that there is no grass because of the cows that have been grazing up here. We follow the trail a couple more miles and finally find a meadow where there is enough grass for the horses to spend the night. The trail takes us through wide open meadows, and we are trying to find a shortcut, but it doesn't work, so that we have to go back to the trail. Soon we are hitting on the shores of Shoshone Lake. It's about 8 miles long and about 1 mile wide. We follow it for a while. There is no animal as far as we can see. Only a single bird is circling in the sky above us. After the lake, the trail takes us down into a valley and up the other side. There is some forest fire here a couple of years ago, and the trees are still black. On the ridge on top, we are let into some swamp areas over some wooden bridges and reach the ranger station where the Bear Ears trails that we need to get to the CDT is starting. Here is our camp for the day. follow Bear Ears Trail up the mountain. It takes us past beautiful lakes up to Washakie Lake, and later as we cross the field around Big Mountain, we come to Washakie Pass. On the other side, it will take us down to the CDT that runs on the western side of this mountain range. It's beautiful autumn colors here, so just enjoy the show. It's still pitch black when I wake up in the morning because the tarp is hitting my face. It's rained all night, as far as I know. I can't understand. I'm listening if I can hear the horses, but it's absolutely quiet. Put on my boots and get out underneath the tarp, and I can see the eyes glowing back in the light of my flashlight. There is 5 inches of snow, and it's still snowing. I'm putting on my raincoat and wake up Salome. We need to get off this mountain. There is a blizzard that's supposed to be hitting us on the weekend. We will get down to Big Sandy to try to reach Boulder in Wyoming in order to weather the storm down there. But we realize it's another 50 miles before we get there. The trail that I'm looking at on my GPS doesn't exist in big parts. So we have to just cut down the mountain, trying to hit trails that we can see below us. We climb down the mountain, not finding a trail that leads us down, but coming to a fence and having to follow it till we find a gate that we can open. Again, we hit other gates as the rain hits and the storm is brewing, and we have to follow those trails till we come to gates that can be opened again. It's a big detour. We found ourselves finally at the road that takes us up to Boulder, but we still got 40 kilometers in front of us. So we keep on trotting on the big road, and we have to get off every few miles to open a gate at the cow stops. We're soaking wet, cold, and miserable as we finally find a ranch where there is light, and the rancher takes us in. Thank God. After some phone calls, we find a taxi that takes us back to Lander, where we pick up the trailer and come back to Pinedale, where we stay for the night. It's a long drive up to Yellowstone National Park, but the horses seem to be happy to be moving again. So after a day's ride, we reach the western entrance of Yellowstone Park, and we stop there at the P Ranch, where we can board the horses. Next morning we will be traveling through Yellowstone, and I just hope that you enjoy the pictures as much as we do.